Welcome back to the Crypto Clown World channel. This is an impromptu live stream. I am your host with the honks, Jason Bruce, honking back in. Shout out to Crypto Face. All right, here we are. It is the 4th of July, folks. It's about 12:40 in the morning where I'm at. I hope you're here with me. If not live, at least checking out the replay when I get that posted. I kind of did this impromptu, not really expecting a whole lot of people to be on at this hour, but people were asking about the markets earlier, and I was like, well, I'm a little tied up, but I'll get a live stream going so we can see what's going on. So with all that, I'm going to pop over to the BTC chart. I could ask if you're watching. Make sure that you're honking the like button. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you get subscribed and hit the bell for notifications as well. We'll bring you more content in the future. Typically, I do a weekend podcast, and we'll be seeing a lot more updates here throughout the second half of the crypto bull run, as things are really expected to accelerate after we level out here a little bit. So what I'm seeing right now, folks, it's really not the best. We've taken a dump down. We're below key moving averages. All right, so we dumped down to the 200 daily, which is this green line here. I'm looking at like 7-minute time frames, pretty zoomed in. So if we actually jump back out to our daily picture here, we can get a little better idea of where we're at with things. And honestly, this just isn't what you would consider like the most bullish formation at this point. Got this kind of a thing going on here. And now this is our kind of flag or line of support where we're holding at this 200. The real problem is, and there's honestly a few of them, this stochastic RSI is starting to make that turn down. So if we take a look here, it's actually got a confirmation pointing down on the daily. Last time we got confirmation pointing down on the daily on the stochastics, we made this move down where we retested 58.5K the last time. So now we've come back up, reset on the daily. We were denied at the 21 MA, which is this yellow line here on my Bollinger Bands, the midline on my Bollinger Bands. And now we've come down, wick down to the 200 daily moving average. All right, one thing I will say, one positive thing, it's actually created a bullish divergence. And we'll need a positive close to get confirmation on this. So a positive daily close tomorrow above the 200 daily, but with this wick below this line here at about 60.2, 60,250. It's going to create a bullish divergence. So really we just want Bitcoin to range sideways for about the next 16 hours or so. And that could actually give us some sort of bullish confirmation. What I was hoping to see was this hidden bullish divergence here hold up. But the thing about hidden bullish is it only takes you up to wherever the local resistance was at, which in this case was the 21 MA. And that's where the price was denied, around 63.8. I did say in the Discord that if the price flipped above 64K, that the market would flip bullish. Obviously, conversely, you have to infer, and I apologize that I haven't given more updates over the past week or so, but my family has been going through some stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's going on with that right now, but I just haven't had the time to really devote to the markets. But in terms of these divergences here, you know, we're just at support and resistance now. So this hidden bullish brought us up to the 21 MA. We were denied there. Came back down to the 200 daily, and now we see some support there. If we see a print where we have like a bullish divergence after a hidden bullish divergence, I always like to see those. So it is possible that somehow we get held up here. But again, the last time we had this type of a confirmation on the stochastics, we had another large move down. So if you think about it, if this is like your bear flag, right, and you were to see something like the length of this pole again, you know, and that would probably be your breakdown point somewhere around there. If you were to just like kind of crudely connect those wicks there. This would take you pretty close to this area that I had designated before, around $47,000. This is actually about 48.3. You're like, why 48.3? Well, first of all, it's kind of a measured move. And that's like a less aggressive measured move. I'll do another one here in a moment. But that broke your like $50,000 supply zone, right? So you've got this node here. This is also an area to think about. Around about 50 to 52,000. There's a smaller volume node just below 50,000 right there. So these are all supply zones to consider right here. But you can see where this measured move would take you. There was some confluence with this kind of wick up. And then this is sort of where this wick came back down and retested this breakout area here where you came up and flagged out and made a larger move. So, you know, if that area were to break, you have this other higher volume node here, like around 42.7. And you've got your 200 weekly curving up. So by the time all this happens on, you know, a somewhat larger time frame like the daily, you could see this 200 weekly curve up to this area, and you may see the confluence around that area. You know, there's another smaller node just below 40K that would take out some 40K stops. So, you know, if you look at the confluence over here, this is the area where BlackRock introduced their Bitcoin ETF. So I'm sure some hungry whales would like to come back down and take some stops out from people who jumped in around the time that this liquidity was being put into the market. So they're going to go where the liquidity is, and that's just how things work. So you know, in terms of some more things on the daily that you can look at that are bearish, you know, right now this isn't the most bullish looking pattern because you've kind of got this rounding top, right? Rounding tops don't pay the bills. You could almost even say maybe this is a bit of an Adam and Eve. Like there's your Adam right there. Even though this is kind of a double top. And you got this more of a rounded thing going on there. But your real technical measured move for this double top would be like top of the double top to bottom of the double top. From that bottom. And then that takes you down, boom. Just like I said, exactly to that supply zone just below $40,000. So don't be surprised if you see a $39,000 or $40,000 Bitcoin sometime this year. If you do see that, make sure that you're buying Bitcoin. And because that isn't a guarantee, you're probably still better off buying Bitcoin right now. Because even if we come back down to that level, let's pull another chart and we'll zoom out a little bit. And we'll think about if we come down to that level. Let's clean this up a little bit. Man, this really doesn't look good when I go to the weekly. This right here just doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. So this is pretty critical right here. You are at the 50 level on the RSI. You're right at that 50 level. It's a critical level. If that holds up, you're going to get a nice bounce. If that breaks, you're going to get absolutely ripped to the downside. And most likely it's going to come back down here and have to reset around the 30 level. So keep an eye on your RSI. Right now your stochastics are bearish on the weekly. You know, you got red above the blue, both of those below your 20 level here. So that looks bearish. And then when you look at where like some fibs would have to reset, that would come even lower than what we were talking about. Your golden pocket here is in the $37,000 range. And then below that, like the next area of confluence and support is this 706 fib. And probably just below that, you know, you've got more area of confluence in the price action and this high volume node. This is right around $30,000. So, you know, in terms of past retracements, it would be totally possible to see that come in. So, you know, if you don't have a bid in just above $30,000, maybe you're, you know, not looking at the potential opportunity there. The thing about that is, even if you come back down there, you know, if you were to just extrapolate this out, if you come back down to say 30 and you get the bounce from there, you're going up here, which is just north of the target that I had set at 84,500. And this is in confluence with an area that Steve Courtney's been talking about on Crypto Crew University. And that is basically the 5.3 theory, where the math kind of plays out that the cycles are sort of a, you know, 5.3 multiple of the last, and that we're seeing these diminished returns. So, you know, you can't discount any of that, right? So we didn't get this bounce upside here, which I thought might be possible. You know, we were flagging out there a little bit. And that had a huge target of 175K. That's not happening now. Not within the next 6 months anyway. Unless we see something really, really wild happen. So I'll keep that target just because it is technically possible, but it looks like the market wants more retracement right now. But if you hold this 50 level, let's see what our 3 days looking like. 3 days just nasty bearish engulfing right now. Not giving you any divergence to work with. That looks bad. Excuse me. The 3 day may be your confirmation, folks. So honestly, like, you know, people can ask for altcoin TA, and I ask people to put out altcoin TA, or to put out altcoin picks that I could give TA for, I should say. But Bitcoin has to cooperate. So if Bitcoin doesn't cooperate, the rest of the market is going to get really nasty. Bitcoin dominance, this is just funky looking. You've got kind of an inverse head and shoulders going on here on the 4 hour. Let's see what the daily closed like. This has just been chugging sideways. So like his dominance gaining steam here. We called out this little kind of an Adam and Eve there. Dominance popped back up. You know, you still haven't seen a real actual retest of the 200 daily. You're just kind of floating above that. No real key divergences there, which means the sideways action continues. So this kind of looks like maybe it was an anomaly. That was sort of a fake out in the market, right? So you're just hanging out like 44, or excuse me, 55 and a 54 and a half, excuse me, 55% area, 54.5 to 55% area for BTC dominance. Never did make it up to this area I was looking at here, 58 to 61%. So, you know, maybe you're still flagging out, looking to try and make an attempt at that area. One last move for BTC. Dominance might have to come down just a little bit first. And then in terms of the tether dominance, you know, we just made another move up to the 200 weekly. This is actually super interesting here right now. So this is something to be careful of. You're seeing consolidation above the 200 weekly. And you saw that other move, right, where it was rejected, came back down. And now you're holding at this point of control where you saw the bounce, right? So I forgot to run some music. So this could be like somewhat of a megaphone for tether dominance. What you really want to see with the tether dominance here is this 4 hour come back down and this double tops here. So like if your next 4 hour close can't create a new high on the RSI, you're going to bearishly diverge. Wherever that ends up being, it's somewhere in that area. If you come up and make a new high though, That's gonna go, and you're gonna be up here like 55.5%, and you'll see a further sell-off for the alts. So Total 3 took kind of a nasty dump here, but we were looking for like more of a rounding type of a bottom, but now it just looks like this is an ugly formation. I don't know what else to say. It's not well, yeah. Maybe you got a little bit of a falling broadening wedge, just a slight bias there. It's very slight. So if that holds, in that pattern, you could maybe potentially come up and see a move even as high as 644 billion, come back down and retest around this area, take off from there. But you also just broke this point of control, which was just below 600 billion. That's a pretty key level. See, this just looks like an absolute catastrophe that might be impending for altcoins. Look at this. Look at these stochastics on the daily. It's not good to see that type of a curve down. You know, it's just never good. Curving down here, had more of a move down. You know, managed to get a bounce here. That was a bit anomalous. I do remember that actually. But typically you start curving down. You know, we saw this large move down. Starting to curve down here, large move down. Same with these. All of these moves down here. So I'm just not feeling bullish right now, folks. It's very, very hard to feel bullish right now. So I would start to protect profits. Again, nothing we say on this channel should really be construed as financial advice, but if you're concerned about your bag, you can try to protect some profits here. Ethereum's trying to hold up versus Bitcoin, but it's not doing too much. It's just not. You're getting a bit of a flag on the 4-hour. This RSI has to get back above 50 for ETH to make a move. When we look at it on the USDT pair, you know, you've got some potential here. You've got a bullish divergence that just came in here on the 4-hour. That's probably something we could see on BTC too. 4-hour BTC. Yeah. So you gotta see that hold up in some capacity. And you've got what, your 200 daily, or your 200 MA, excuse me, on the 4-hour. It's at about 65.6, so you see a bounce above 65.6, and that holds as support. We'll see a much larger move come back for BTC, but in order for Ethereum to rally, BTC's got to do its thing too. So, you know, when we look at what ETH was doing here, now seeing, you know, double golden pocket retrace. So Ethereum has not yet graced the 200 daily MA, which again is curving up, currently around $3,091. So realistically, this should remain a bullish pattern as long as you're kind of holding in this pattern here. Just remain sideways. And this actually wouldn't be too bad. Lose this 200 daily, ETH is cooked. That's got to hold, in my opinion. Again, nothing that we're saying or doing here should be considered financial advice. This is all areas where I was trading. A lot more day trading. This is gonna either turn into one of the craziest bull traps that I've ever seen, or we're gonna make a really, really huge move. And you know, when I look at what the ETHBTC pair is doing on like a larger scale, I look like 2 week type of a thing. This should be starting to make a larger move. You know, you're holding your 21 MA on like the 2 week, right? But you haven't held the 50 level on the RSI yet. Usually those correspond, but in this case it may be the 200 weekly that you need to see as the final hurdle. So there was rejection there. If you see this pair for, you know, ETHBTC, which is essentially the value of Ethereum versus Bitcoin, if you see it above this white line, you're going to see a lot more bullishness come in for that pair. But this is, you know, it's a much larger pattern. This is in, depending on how you want to slice this. You're getting pretty close to an apex there. But a breakdown of that would be disastrous for ETH owners. You know, you would be looking at at a significant haircut, which just kind of doesn't make sense. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that pair. If it loses the 21 MA on the 2 week there, see if it's holding the weekly. And it's holding the weekly. The RSI is actually holding support on the weekly above that 50 level there, so you can kind of see that corresponding where it's holding above that, wicking down there to the 21 MA. BNB, I just took a haircut there. I should have closed out my trade at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of last month actually. Even at the end of the month, I still have some really good profit there, but you know, if this was like the bearish retest of this head and shoulders, there's still going to be some more downwards movement. The 200 daily sitting around $480. if you look at this as an anomaly, then maybe you're like back inside some type of pattern here. To get the extension there. So I mean, really this does look like breakdown of a head and shoulders. There's maybe hidden bullish to hold this up. No, not even. This pattern's pretty screwed. I may be looking to exit my position. There's not some type of rally out of this 4 hour here. This just looks horrible. There is a 4 hour bullish div though, which we saw in Bitcoin and ETH. But that's got to hold up there. Something I want to note here, I'm sure if we can get a podcast going this weekend, which would be nice. Chris will probably have some input on what silver's doing here. The daily's broken out for silver, it looks like. Kind of jump into this 8 hour, just get a little bit more zoomed in. Silver's kind of doing something like that right now. It's a bit of an inverse head and shoulders, so you know this is kind of cooked, to be honest. There's no like bearish divergence there, but this is getting a little cooked here, so you know, even if this comes back down and retest this level here like around 29.5, this can stay bullish, but this is kind of looking to create like a, you know, complex inverse head and shoulders type of a bull flag breakout. So I will keep an eye on that for silver. Maybe if we really zoom out here. You're getting that scoop and that bounce and that hidden bullish. Bouncing off the 21 MA, you got the scoop on the stochastics, hasn't confirmed yet, but you got the hidden bullish here and above the 50 level on the RSI. So never saw any bearish div come in here. This just looks like continuation. This looks like bull flag continuation. So I would really look for silver to rip here. Conservative than the previous one. We were looking at maybe $36.50. So if you're going to make 20% on silver, that's a significant move. And honestly, like, it's just not something that you're going to typically see in these markets unless there's just really, really extreme economic conditions going on, which there are. And you can see that, you know, there was this accumulation around $22 to $23, and then bam, just, you know, hit this ceiling around 32, so that's a significant move. It's over 50%. People aren't even talking about this. How is no one talking about this? That's like, you know, that's almost on the level of some cryptocurrencies. That's insane volatility for metals. It's insane volatility, people. One more thing I want to point out, Tesla all of a sudden has flipped extremely bullish, and you're seeing what's called 3 white soldiers, these green candles here, all lined up in a row, as the price action has surged not only above the 200 daily but the 200 weekly out of this sort of a diamond or even a bit of a head and shoulders type of a bottoming formation here. Oh, would you look at that? So it's just breaking on up to the upside there. And that move's about exhausted, so, you know, I'm not saying buy this right now. Maybe wait for a retest. This can come back down and test the 200 daily if the 200 weekly doesn't hold. But this is looking to try and flip extremely bullish, and this is actually breaking out of a much larger falling broadening wedge pattern. So keep an eye on this thing. It may be time for Tesla to actually make its larger move. You know, this could even be considered like a larger head and shoulders that might be in effect. Okay. Just keep an eye out for Tesla, folks. Keep an eye out for Tesla. You know, you're extremely cooked on the daily here in terms of your RSI and stochastics. So again, maybe wait for a retest, but this looks like something's brewing there. All right. So, hey, we got a couple people in the chat. All right. All right. So we've got Xavier and Persistent Patriot. Persistent Patriot. Sorry if I'm not connecting the name from Discord or Facebook, but yeah, this is kind of the breakdown here, boys. So, you know, we're starting to see some of these larger assets move, like Tesla and silver, and you know, Bitcoin just needs to find its level, whatever that is. It could be where it's at right now. It doesn't have to get any more bearish than where it's at right now, but there's some conditions that have to be met here. You know, there's definitely conditions that have to be met. So condition would be like on this 4 hour, you got to hold up this hidden bullish and print a bullish divergence and come back up here and start flipping some moving averages into support. You know, you're below all your key moving averages and point of control right now for Bitcoin, so something's got to flip there. And you know, this type of a divergence could be a start. So, you know, moving sideways through the weekend would help, but realistically this pattern is just ridiculous. Like, what is this? What are we seeing here? You know, is this a megaphone? Is it a, you know, sort of a ascending broadening wedge? You know, those are typically a bearish bias. You know, what was kind of a rising wedge kind of a thing broke down there. So, you know, if we look at that just from a technical perspective here, that move's played out. That move more than played out, actually. And you know, it played out to about the point where it started wicking down there. So is that the extent of it? Is that the extent of it? I can't answer all the questions, guys. I can't answer all the questions. I just throw a few tea leaves out there and try to read a story. And honestly, the signals have been pretty mixed for a while, so it's like you have to be really careful what you're doing at this point, and you have to have a plan. So you have to understand where you're at in the market. Like, are you holding bags? Are you just getting in? Are you trying to establish a position at some point because you're hanging on to some cash? Well, obviously you've had a pullback here, and if you've had a pullback and you're at the bottom of what's been a very, very long consolidation range, at the very least you want to start averaging in. You know, that's what I would do. if I wasn't in the market, I would look to start averaging in here. And if you start averaging in a little bit at 58 and you come all the way back down to, say, 36 or 30, and you've distributed your bag at that point, your average is going to be, somewhere in this area, 40 something. And if we see a bounce, to that 80 level that I was talking about, you're pretty much doubling up on your money. So just continue to average into the market. If you're either looking to build a position, or if you're down, I would say more than 20% on any given position, start to slowly average in on that. Down more than 50%, maybe be a little more aggressive. Don't get too crazy, because obviously some of these coins can go to zero. Again, none of this stuff is financial advice, but always just consider where you're at in the market. And if you're down on a bag, typically the strategy is going to be to average in there. So I know Xavier was wanting to take a look at Zeph. He did jump in a position there. So Zeph is, it looks like it's probably doing the typical dance here. So you had a breakout after a long consolidation. This falling wedge, not the most aggressive breakout. It would have been nice to see a move to like the 200 daily. But in terms of what that was, basically you were able to double up. I don't know if you took profit on that. It would have been a good area up here to get your free bag. This looks like it has to come back down a little bit more. So in terms of your daily, you're going to test this point of control. Let's just see if the 4 hours telling us a similarly bearish story. Just make sure you're making your flag here. Say you're in a bit of a falling wedge there. Bit of a flag. The thing about this is, say you lose that POC, you still have this aggressively falling wedge here, right? Like, there's nothing saying you can't wick down to these levels. Well, I guess there is, because this would be negative. So, your chances of this double bottom holding are actually much higher. Now that I look at this, your chances of testing new lows are low at this point. And you could almost say, is that your atom? And then you got your Eve there. And now you're retesting that. Or at least building structure within it. So we've actually got a little bit of hidden bullish divergence there on that breakout. So really, I would say you just want to hold this POC. That's like $3.20. Let's see what the golden pocket's looking like. Your golden pocket's right around that POC. Don't be surprised to retest this area. There's more liquidity down there. And this doesn't look like a bull flag to me with this long wick to the upside. These denials at the 21 MA on the 4 hour. This looks like this needs a little more downside liquidity and consolidation. Okay. So Watch your 1 hour for bearish retest. You got to wick up there. Stochastics are starting to point down. Yeah, this kind of tweezer top here. So you could almost say something like that going on too. A little bit of a head and shoulders type thing. That would be pretty aggressive move down though. That would retest the bottom of the formation here. I would say that would probably be less likely. Got enough volume up here to hold this up around $3.20, but you could have some divergence down here. But I would say that played out, came up here. So where that divergence played out, that was the top of this move here. So you're looking for consolidation and maybe potentially move a little bit lower. Like when you look at the 15, it's typically not the most bullish looking type of a pattern. Did I hit CASA yet? No, I did not hit CASA. I'll take a quick look at CASA. I know it was seeing some retrace with the rest of the market. Was seeing some bullishness there. The KRC20 tokens were released, so maybe the people are pulling some liquidity out of CASA to print those. And oh, that daily is heavily bearish divergent. I may not have seen this the other day when I was asked about CASA, but that, that's horrible. So you want to hold that 50 level on the RSI on the daily. That's just nasty looking. Four hour, you've got some hidden bullish holding this up. Maybe a little bit of a cup and handle going on here. Maybe 2.22 cents would be like the next level up for CASA. If you do like a little more aggressive move. That would take you north of that next area that I had plotted out. It'd be around like 2.5 cents. So this divergence would have to hold up to make that happen. Could say you got a little bit of a falling wedge there. So maybe a little bit of a bullish continuation forming there. But there was still that bearish divergence that came in. That showed up on the 4 hour too, so it may be that you're printing a divergence to dig back out of that. Stochastics are looking okay. not all bad. This 1 hour doesn't look that great though, because you're like getting rejected at the 21 MA, right? You came up, consolidated, couldn't hold it, came down, came back up, got rejected. So this just makes me want a raspberry. Like it's a for me. Because at the very least that's going to take further consolidation. Unless we've got something brewing on like this 15-minute here. Nothing's going to look fun right now because there's no liquidity in the market. So either people are drunk or sleeping. Nobody's stupid enough to be up watching this other than whoever the two clowns are that were stupid enough to join me tonight. Okay? But with that in mind, when the liquidity comes in, you're going to see a significant move. I just don't have a real solid bearing on whether the market is going to bounce up or down right now. You know, I would like to say it has a bullish bias, but if we saw more of a flush, it would give us more liquidity to the upside. And typically those consolidations lend themselves to a more healthy type of a movement. But you know, this is probably going to be about as much as I can offer right now in terms of what the market's doing here. So again, you know, you've got this pattern here, which isn't necessarily a bullish consolidative pattern here on the 4 hour. When you zoom out a little bit further, is this accumulation or distribution? We've been discussing that ad nauseum for a while. You know, take a look at your Wyckoff accumulation and distribution schematics to try and make a little bit more sense of that. I don't like what the stochastics are doing on the daily. This is going to have to print bullish divergence here, and we're going to have to see bullish divergence hold on the 4 hour, start to close some candles above this level, which is, you know, just above 60K, call it 60.3. All right. Which it's funny because, you know, when you look from a divergence perspective, the daily closed with a bullish divergence. Okay. The daily closed with a bullish divergence. We look at this candle here, right? This is lower than these candles, but your RSI was higher. Okay. Your RSI was higher than this swing down. So this was a bit of an anomaly, and maybe there was some price manipulation there, and now technically this has created a stronger divergence. So can the bulls hold this up, or is this just a divergence that is made to be broken? That would be the real question here. So if you were to come down and set, you know, another low on the RSI after dipping down here on the stochastics, that would be a super bearish move, and you would be talking about, you know, these levels that I talked about before. Now, if you come down here and you create a bullish divergence and this stochastics comes down on the daily and resets in some fashion, and these oscillators start to curve back up and these levels are holding, and you haven't created a new low below this previous one, which was like 56.5, you know, or even if you come down and create some type of divergence in terms of that, create a larger divergence there, that can hold. You can still double bottom out. It's gonna be an odd looking formation. Ultimately might even turn into like a larger, inverse head and shoulders. So we'll keep an eye on how this kind of continues to mature. This has been a very, very long consolidation. Honestly, this consolidation goes all the way back to the middle of March, so close to 4 months now that we've been at it, just blazing sideways for BTC. So I think that's going to be about the extent of it. I don't want to get too far into like some altcoin TA. Again, Bitcoin has to cooperate in order for anything good to happen. getting some additional bounce there from the 200 daily moving average on the 15-minute. And that's sort of continuation off a bullish divergence, right? So ultimately, you know, if you're scalping, this could be a good move here. You could even take this move up to like the 200 MA on the 15, maybe around 61K. You could still see further rejection there and further downside, but this looks like the long opportunity right there. You can get a quick scalp over the weekend. I know it sounds crazy, but this is typically a setup. So you've got bullish divergence on the 15-minute, bounce off the 200 daily. If you flip over to the 1 hour, you also have some continuation there. I believe there's a bullish divergence somewhere. Oh yeah, right here. Right here. So you can see this is swinging down lower on the RSI, much higher in price action. Had this down, tested the 200 daily, wick down again, and you're holding that nicely with 1 hour bullish divergence. And then when you're flipping over to the 4 hour, you also have a bullish divergence that's confirming there right now. So this actually is something where, you know, typically I would take a long trade. And it sounds nuts with the holiday and everything, but maybe you have some whales coming in here to manipulate the price. And a lot of the time what can happen with these price manipulations is you'll see whales come in when the liquidity is low, and what they're able to do is actually play off of themselves, where they'll sell some BTC up here but short sell into that sell as well. So they'll sell just a holding position or a swing position, and they'll sell that into a short, and they'll create this volume, and they'll be able to buy back up their spots much cheaper, and they can even create longs from these areas too, and rinse and repeat in the opposite manner. So something else to consider too. This is actually breakout and retest, like crazy breakout and retest. Wow. That could be. That's a crazy breakout and retest right there. Crazy. That is crazy. That has an extreme tilt to it, but you know what? This has so much stuff here going on, so much confluence, that it's hard for me to not want to take a trade on this right now. It's really hard. I'm going to let the 1 minute come down here, and I'm going to let that decide for me. So I may take a trade here in a few minutes. But in the meantime, I'm going to go take a walk. Xavier wanted XMR. Jump on XMR real quick, and then I'm going to jump out. Oh, look at what CASPA's doing now. Look at this. 15 minute for CASPA's breaking out now too. This is super interesting price action. I wouldn't get too concerned about this stuff right now, to be honest. I wouldn't get too super bearish. You know, I'm saying that even with the possibility of Bitcoin going to 40 or 50K, you can't get too super bearish here. You have to remain, you know, somewhat level, and if the market takes a dip, you buy. You know, if you're consolidating, you hold. If it comes back up, maybe you think about selling a little bit. Be smart and make the type of decisions that smart money makes. Don't capitulate here. You know, hold or average down. for buying opportunities, etc. So this just doesn't look all bad. So let's take a look at XMR real quick, and I'm going to jump on out of here. Let's look at the Monero USD. This is on Kraken. Yeah, see, you got a little bit of a bullish div here on the 1 hour. So higher in price action here, swung down there. But if you look at your RSI here, it actually swung down lower on the RSI and then came down and confirmed off of the 30 level. So this looks okay on the 1 hour. Let's swing out to like 4 hour. Got this kind of a flag going on here. It's not like the prettiest flag. Daily. So daily, I feel like we had this kind of Adam and Eve breakout, right? You were rejected at the 200 weekly. Don't be surprised if you like come back down just like to this level here. Even this POC, like area of confluence, where you're sort of seeing the 200 daily move sideways. All right, so maybe 145, 140 or 150 $150. You could see, you know, a retest of this breakout, right? It's just a breakout range. So a lot of the time you'll come back to retest those breakout levels, and it doesn't look like you've really seen the retest of that, unless this was the clean retest right here. So stay in the flag and bounce, flip the 200 weekly to support, or come back down and retest the POC in the 200 daily, which again is about 140 or 150 $150 area range, etc. for XMR. Odd RSI action, if I had to say, this is actually breaking down. So look for retrace. So I think that'll be that. No more requests in the chat. Thank you both for jumping on this late. That's really cool. I appreciate you guys as always. Thanks as always for keeping it lively in the Discord too, and for all the information that you guys bring out there. Thank you also to anyone who listened to the end of this broadcast. It was just an impromptu live stream. I haven't done a live in the while, and I just wanted to make sure I was able to get it up and running, and we'll be ready to do some more going forward. So with that, I'm going to jump on out of here. Bang, bang, bang. Honk, honk, honk. I'm Jason Bruce. This has been Crypto Clown World. Hope you enjoyed the info that I put out here. At the very latest, I'll get a podcast out this weekend. Hopefully have some updates provided, at least in the Discord, if not by video before then. Take care. Much love, guys. God bless. I'll see you soon.